Hello, this is Matthew Chaim. I'm Matthew Chaim, and you're watching The Music Enthusiast.
Hi, I'm Sarah from the Music Enthusiast blog, and today I'm here with Matthew Chaim.
Hello, hello.
So the last time we spoke, we were in a Starbucks, and now we're over Zoom. So how are you doing
True.
today?
Good. That was a while ago, and a whole different world ago. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on Zoom.
Well, thank you for letting us do this. It's really cool. We've both grown so much. You've gained a bunch of followers. I was watching our interview and I was like cringing at myself because after every answer I'd be like, cool, awesome, yeah.
I think it was like your first or second time doing a video
It
interview,
was
right?
my
Or no?
first in-person interview.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
And like I said, you've definitely grown a fan base over that time. So
Mhm.
what advice would you give to people starting out in the music industry?
What advice would I give to people starting out? Well, in the music industry, I guess I would say like there is no music industry. There's just a bunch of people that make music and there's business built around it, but there's no one industry that you need to get into and figure your way through. I think especially now there are millions of ways of bringing your music to people and they're only growing more and more. So I would say like the first thing to do is make the music you want to make. And that could be like the difficult part as you get deeper and deeper into it, but really staying connected to that initial reason. And the only way to do that is to just keep making stuff and navigate accordingly what feels good to you. And you'll know what feels good in every other domain when you're connected to that part of the creative nucleus. I like to picture it as. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, because there's so many ways so many like different sounds you can make your music into, but only one will be unique to you, I guess.
That's it. That's it. You're a unique concoction, I guess.
Are there any new things that you've learned over this year, especially that have helped you become a better artist?
I think connecting to that more. I mean, over the last year, I was forced by, the pandemic to come. Well, I mean, I chose to come back to Montreal, but definitely forced into like working more on my own in a more intimate way. I've always worked with producers, which I love to do, but I've never really gone this deep into working and starting from scratch songs on my own since I always started with producers. So that's allowed me to, in some ways, get more intimate and I guess almost more vulnerable with the music, which is something I already, I think, have done with the earlier stuff, but it feels like that much more when I'm creating everything from my own. And then also getting over the hump of like, wanting to get as good productions as I get with the producers that I work with, which are very talented people. So like, again, like, going back to that first thing of just continuing to make and like work through that feeling of not being quite there. So it almost brought me back to this like beginner's mind, which I think is like a difficult yet healthy thing to grow through.
Mm-hmm. Like you've traveled to LA to record music, your last album. So what are the pros and cons to creating music at home instead? I feel like you answered this question like just now, but if you
I could take a different stab at it though. Well, comparing, at home, there's Montreal versus LA, and then there's like my, during COVID, literally in this room versus being outside in the world. So I would say like going there and working with people in Los Angeles, definitely like there's so many people to work with. Eventually, not at first. At first, I didn't know anyone and like could hardly get a session in my schedule, but eventually grew enough of a network and friend group there to be able to be quite productive. And that was good for me. And I think is helpful in some ways to a lot of artists, even though there's this idea that, oh, artists are all over the place and like don't enjoy structure. I don't think that's necessarily true. I actually think bringing some structure into the creative process is healthy at a balance. And for me, I know that helps. So the structure of having sessions every day, having a place to be at 1 p.m. because some producers expecting me there, helped me produce more, and therefore, go down the creative rabbit hole a lot deeper. And now being able to, I guess, in some ways be more self-accountable to that and still show up every day. There's been ups and downs throughout COVID, and we're all going through our own almost very close to home battle with it. But I think like learning to be able to cultivate that accountability to myself, because at the end of the day, I'm the one choosing to pursue this stuff, has been the probably biggest difference, and still working at it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're doing great.
Thank you.
Your latest release, Red Balloons, is, I think it's one of my favorites so far from you.
Wow, cool. Thank you.
During my first listen, I actually thought my phone was glitching at first. I was like, wait. Yeah. So could you talk about how that idea came to be?
Yeah. So, and you're not the only one. I've heard from a few people now who are like, I thought something was wrong with my phone or YouTube or something, because the song starts so glitchily and empty. So I made that song. I mean, it was produced by Rabbit, who produced all the Mathematics of Nature, and he's already, and we've already developed this idea of very minimalist and very spacious sound. There was a song Departed on the last album that also has a lot of space in between sounds, especially at the top of the song. So yeah, it was something we were already playing with. That was actually an idea that just Rabbit came up with. Jason came up with. I think Red Balloons is one of the few, if not the first track where we didn't start it in the room together, but he actually had started a beat prior, and he thought it had, my kind of flavor on it. So he sent it to me and I loved it. And I actually sat with it for a long time, never writing to it. And then we added we did a session where we just added the vocal sample, that weird chipmunky thing. And then we wrote the song with Haley Jean Penner, who also co-wrote the song with us. So yeah, it was just something that Jason started, and I loved it. I love the way it started, very glitchily and weird.
Yeah, it's so cool because it still sounds like one of your songs, but it's so different. It's really cool to see you experimenting with different sounds.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad you feel that way about it.
Mm-hmm. Sand is another one of my favorites. But I can't listen to it without shedding a little tear. But
yeah,
does it have
that effect
on you? Pretty sure it does because you wrote it. But
yeah, it I would say it did. I mean, I've heard it, a lot of the songs. I've heard them so many times, especially by the time they come out. And I also do all the visuals and motion graphics. I do pretty much all the editing on my own. So that means a ton of sitting and listening to the song over and over and over and over again. So it starts to get desensitized to an extent. But that said, then it comes out, and then maybe I don't listen to it for a while, and then I hear it again, and it brings back those early feelings. But for sure, I mean, when I wrote it, and even for I would say half a year to a year after that, it always brought up that very tender emotion that is clearly embedded in the song.
Mm-hmm. And what emotions do you want people to get from that song?
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing that comes to mind is I don't really have an exact plan in terms of what emotions I want people to feel. I kind of want people to have their own experience with the music. Actually, I find it just as much of a creative process to listen to music as it is to make music, because everyone's taking it in through their own filter and through their own experiences, and it really is its own song for everyone in a sense. So in that way, I leave it quite a blank slate. I would say for me, what the therapy of writing that song was an almost loving goodbye. It was it's almost like tough love to myself and to my partner who I had broken up with. So I would say yeah, it had this it has this oomph and force to it, and almost an anger, but also a lot of love under that. So yeah, it was very sad time. It was right around the rawness of the breakup, and a lot of those raw feelings I think got captured in the song.
Amazing. You're releasing more and more songs now. Could we expect like another full-length project soon?
There's more music coming.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not going to be as long as the Mathematics of Nature, but yeah, there's another project coming, and I've been teasing that, and I think you caught it in one of the visuals. I kind of dropped these little Easter eggs of what I'm working on. But yeah, I mean, there's more music coming. I mean, I ended up pausing a lot of stuff last year because of COVID, and then I was moving, back home and stuff. So I put out a lot less music in 2020 than I wanted to originally. I had like plans to put out a lot more. So now I feel like that's happening in 2021. So yeah, there's a bunch more music coming.
Now is like the new music, the music that you plan for 2020, or like that and like a mix of both that you've been creating?
For the most part, it's the music that I'd already pretty much finished, or was in the process of finishing. Most of that music was still written in LA, produced in LA. So that's going to be that project. It to me almost acts as like not a part two, but like kind of like an appendix to the Mathematics of Nature. The new music that I've been making since the pandemic, and the one that I'm talking to you about, that it's like a lot more intimate, that is still very much in the writing phase, and I'm working on it. I do really want to put out some of that in 2021, further into the year after this project comes out. But that is like a whole other world that I feel like is building. So I feel like I'm kind of closing a world, and I'm going to be opening a new one later on.
Cool. Can't wait for that.
Hmm.
And one thing I love about you and your art is that you always come up with like really cool visuals for like each era, you could say.
Mhm.
So do those naturally come to you, or do you like take a while to like brainstorm?
I would say, because yeah, I think like for both, especially, yeah, I guess for all the projects, but especially for the last, like this one and the Mathematics of Nature, I did like take more of a ownership over like the visuals of the worlds. I would say for the most part, it's like a lot of like brainstorming, ideation, like trying a lot of stuff, throwing a lot of stuff at the wall, and then finally finding something that sticks. And then it's a little bit of recreating that, to have a cohesive thing. So I would say like the first song was Sunflowers for the Mathematics of Nature. It took me a while to find the vibe, but then once I found it and I knew it was going to be the whole crayon thing, I went with that, which was a lot of fun to do. And then the same thing for this when I dropped. I mean, Form was actually kind of the first one of this world, but I didn't even know I was doing it yet. And then I continued that process for Tear. And when I found it for Tear, I've now been like kind of just continuing that theme for the rest of the project.
And what is your favorite visual representation that you've done so far?
It's a good question. I mean, what comes to mind, honestly, is actually Form, which is like a very kind of like, I guess, personal one. It's like, I called it like a quarantine visual or quarantine edit that I created when I was literally in quarantine, when I got back from LA and I had to be inside for 2 weeks. So I was kind of like going mad, and I literally like shot it. I shot a lot of the visual of it inside the basement, like the parking lot of the building I was staying in, because I couldn't even leave. And then I just edited it forever. And it's really weird and glitchy and raw and, all that sort of thing. But I don't know. I just like had a lot of fun making it.
Turned out amazing. Last question. Have you gone deep diving into any music rabbit holes? Because you have a great music taste. So what like artists have you been really into lately?
Great question. Like, honestly, I find myself, if anything, this period of my life listening to the least amount of music, which is kind of nuts. I know for a lot of people it's the opposite. I think for me, especially in LA, like I would just, and even before then, I just always listen to music in the car. Like that's the main place where I'm just constantly listening to music. Now I have nowhere that I'm driving to, let alone my car's sitting outside of a friend's house in Los Angeles. I don't even have one. So I'm doing a lot less listening to music. I'm actually listening to a lot more podcasts in the house and stuff like that. That said, the music that I do listen to these days, like I listen to a lot of instrumental music, I would say, when writing, like not writing songs, but just writing for writing. So I listen to a lot of instrumental music, a lot of like solo piano, a lot of I don't know, kind of solo piano mixed with electronic vibes. I would say like the one or few rabbit holes I've gone down are when Rustin Kelly, who's an amazing artist, put out his album, which has been during the pandemic. I listened to that a lot. That's like, do you know Rustin Kelly?
No, I've never heard of that.
You know Casey Musgraves, artist
Yeah.
Casey Musgraves?
Yeah.
So it's her ex-husband.
Oh, okay.
And he's also an artist. So he has like a country twang vibe, but amazing, really, really beautiful voice. So I fell into that for a while. And I'm sure there were other ones that, that I'm just not remembering right now. But yeah, a lot of instrumental music and like electronic music has kind of been the vibe. It's been a weird turn of events.
I've been really into Remy Wolf lately. Have you ever heard of her?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I have, yeah.
So cool.
Very cool, yeah.
She's like one of my favorite people right now. I think what she's doing is so awesome.
Yeah, I have to check it out more. I've only heard like one or two songs on playlists and stuff.
Mm-hmm. From
I'll have to
TikTok.
check it out.
But like it's so fun.
Yeah.
Like, that song sounds nothing like her other songs, but so good.
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite podcast right now?
I'm just now getting into what's it called? Dissect, which is a very interesting one. You know this podcast on Spotify?
I think I've heard of them. That one, yeah.
So the last season, or at least the season I'm listening to, is like they dissect Childish Gambino's Because the Internet, which is a very, very interesting thing to listen to because it's all about this world that he built where he had a screenplay and an album and websites and all sorts of like crazy multimedia adventure. So I'm really, really inspired by listening to that podcast. What else? There's other ones. Random episodes of things. Can't remember right now. I've also like fallen into like the crypto world as of late. So I've been just taking in a lot of like random episodes of things about cryptocurrency, but more so like the way it intersects with art, and like the whole crypto art world has become very fascinating to me. So I'm just like spending time learning about all that.
Me, I love the show Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So like over quarantine, I would listen to like their podcast.
Yeah. Oh, really? There's a podcast?
Yeah.
Is it a podcast of episodes?
No, I think there's only like maybe 5 or 7 episodes. They talk about like, I think one's like production, one's like their favorite episodes in general. Yeah.
So it's like a behind the scenes kind of look at the show.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And also like serial killer stuff. But
oh yeah.
Yeah. Not at night though, because then I get nightmares.
Yeah. I feel you.
So this is Matthew Chaim. Thank you for having me interview you again. This is really fun.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's great. It's great. Always great to be a part of what you're building. It's very cool to also see like you've built a lot. You've grown a lot in the last year, whatever. Like how long have you been doing it now?
3 years.
3 years. Okay. Yeah. It's pretty amazing to watch. So keep going.
Thank you. See you guys next time.